Now I'm going to demonstrate to you the whipped running stitch. You start by just doing a normal running stitch. And I'm going to do these stitches quite wide just so that you can see how it's actually done. So I'm doing a basic running stitch, although here I'm going to leave the space in between the stitches slightly smaller, just so that I can get more running stitches in so that you can see what I'm trying to achieve. I'm just going to do 4 of them because this is just a demonstrator. Like that. Then you take, well, it could be another colour, it could be the same colour, it could be a different thickness, a different type of thread, whatever you want to use for whatever effect that you want to make. And effectively what we're going to do is we're going to weave in between these running stitches. So I'm going to come up just to the north, in the middle of that first stitch. And I'm going to go underneath that first stitch. Once you've come up, this is a surface stitch until you've finished at the end, and then you go back down again. So I'm going to go to the next stitch and I'm going to weave up. And again, depending on the effect that you want, you can pull it tight or you can leave a little bit of thread there. And then I'm going to weave back down again. And you might have guessed it, I'm going back up again. So you can sort of see that effect. Again, because I'm using quite long stitches, it doesn't have quite the same effect. I'm just doing this to show you what it's like. So having come back up here, I'm going to go back down in the middle in a similar fashion to where I came up. You can also do a double whipped running stitch where you do the opposite. So I'm coming back up on the south side of that stitch and I'm going to be doing the opposite. So where that stitch, the yellow, went underneath, I'm going to go back down so that my loop is on the north side. And then you carry on. Just lengthen that. And back down again. And I'm going to go back down. So because I've left quite a lot of space, not the neatest of examples, but hopefully you can see what I mean. So you're looping and weaving your second thread in and out of your running stitches. And you're leaving space in between your running stitches depending on the effect you want. You can do one weaving or you can do the double effect. Use different colours possibly for both of your double effect if you want a double running stitch. I'm going to demonstrate now to you what it looks like when you do slightly smaller stitches, and hopefully it'll have a slightly better effect. So I'm just going to rethread my blue thread. Which is easier said than done. There we go. So I'm going to do my running stitch the other way, just because my blue stitch ended that side. So I'm going to do them slightly smaller. I won't do as many, but I'm just going to do a few so that you can see the difference in effect when using slightly smaller stitches. I'm using the back and front sewing method, but you can also use a sewing method, which means your hand just stays at the front. But because I'm right-handed and this is going the opposite direction, that's a bit more awkward. So I'll just do a couple more. And when I do the yellow on this running stitch, I'm only going to do the single whipping, just so that you can see what it looks like. Right, So that's my blue, all done. And now, let's pull that tight, there we go. And now I'm going to use the yellow. And again, I'm going to come back up. Well, it's not quite halfway, but halfway just to the north of that blue stitch. And go back underneath. Just pull it tight. It's because I haven't finished it off at the back, the blue, that it's just not quite secure. And then I'm going to do the weaving. So up. Some people don't weave up and then down, they weave in one direction. So having weaved up, they come back down and then weave up the next stitch. Again, if that's the effect you want, there's nothing stopping you. But for this, I'm going to show you the up and down weaving. So here you can see I'm not leaving so much of a loop, but because I've got more stitches and they're smaller, having gone up the final one, I'm just going to go back down to the back of the fabric and finishing off. So you can see it has a bit more of an effect than this one here, which is just a demonstrator, weaving up and down. So you can do longer loops, you can use the same colour, or you can go back and do the double whipped running stitch, a bit like this did. Enjoy!